President Johnson?
I would recommend just staying with this. I mean, unless we're gonna do the team building, we're gonna stay with, I would recommend staying with the 3,000.
Okay. Trustee McKay?
That's what I was gonna say. And I don't, yeah, I think it's fine to eliminate the additional 3,000 and then keep conferences at 3,000. I actually would also, I think it's appropriate I think it's nice for us to participate in the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Convention. I don't know what the 2,000 would refer to, but I don't think that that's, given the scope of our position, I don't think that's necessary.
Any other comments? Okay. So,
Do we know, just, I tend to agree with Trustee McKay, do we have actuals, like, Mark, do you know if how much we spent? I think we only went to the league, right, this year? There wasn't a lot of spending, so, but does it equal more than the one, is it 1,000? Because I'm fine with lowering it, I would just don't want to lower it, because I think the only conference.
I believe that, doesn't the village president usually attend a number of conference functions on behalf of the village? So perhaps my labeling of that as trustee conferences might be a little misleading.
What's village?
It's in the village board.
Yeah, it's in village board.
maybe others. Yeah, we spent $1360 in 2016, so it's $1740 in 2015, so it's
And then
$3,000.
we added $1,000.
If there's more activity,
Yeah, I had
definitely
forgotten
provides
that.
some growth.
Yeah.
I would be comfortable with
Send it
the
to-
existing 3,000 that
3,000?
got in the
I think that's
budget. I
fine.
think it provides
Okay.
an increment.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next line item then is in the village manager's budget on page 43. I believe there was discussion to add funding to the sustainability for what group, Tyler?
The Equality and Human Relations Commission.
So my notes say
educational-
$1,000. Tyler, I don't know if you think that's
I think
too much. or-
I think it's too. I think 500, especially because by the time we get people on board in that, I mean, you're talking probably 2/3 of the year or so. So I would, if you were to go that direction, I would do 500 to start with.
Instead of 1,500?
Yeah, that's my recommendation.
No, 1,500 is what's there. 500 would be a
1,000 was proposed, so I would just start at 500, and then we can evaluate for next
Those
year.
notations would be for additional funding, not to change 1,500 to a fund.
So it'd go from 1,500 to 2,000.
But this line is for both pet and bike safety and conservation, right? So it
Right.
would be 2,000 for three
Right,
groups.
and we should probably retitle it, Mark, instead of
Yeah.
sustainability, I would do like volunteer committees or something like that, so it's a little bit more transparent what that line is
Oh,
referring
so-
to.
And what, where does this show up in the budget? What line item?
So on page 44, under sustainability conversation, as it's currently listed, which is like the 5th line item from the bottom of page 43 in the village manager budget.
Okay, so you're gonna put it in as other committees, $500? Other
Well, volunteer committees is the feedback I'm hearing.
Oh, okay.
And then if you want to add funding for a different committee, that's what we're discussing right now.
Right.
Trustee Moore?
Yes.
I think I don't know, we'd have to look at the charter for the Parks Commission. We've always focused on capital projects for them, prioritizing capital projects, but if they do want to look at sort of behavior changes around use and protection of parks and stewardship, then I think some monies for that, for, social campaigns would be appropriate. So maybe we'll make a note for next year and look through that. But then all our citizen committees would have some equity in terms of what they can offer to the community and how they can collaborate.
Do we want to add, say, 500 to the 15 and make it 2,000? So there's additional funds for the anticipated new committee?
They're gonna be doing a lot of educational materials now, so they're gonna probably need something,
Okay,
some allocated funds if you want them to get going on the right foot.
I'm comfortable adding $500 to that, so the committee can get going.
Are you just talking about that one committee?
That's the one he's referring to, is the new one.
Oh, yeah.
Being formed.
And then I was making.
And then we'll make a note for, and we can make a note for next year.
Next
Trustee
year,
McKay.
yeah.
Next year.
Right.
Okay.
So what are we doing? We're taking the 1,500 to leave it at 15?
2,000.
Increase it to 2,000.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
For
you.
other volunteer, we haven't established that committee yet, so maybe it should be just other volunteer committees or so, until we establish the committees. All right.
Line 25 then, there was some discussion about anticipation of issuing of reserve licenses and budgeting $10,000 in that licensing category for 2018 in anticipation of that.
I'm more comfortable, I'm sorry. Liz.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm more comfortable, I like the idea of making a note that we can anticipate this, but as far as putting it in the budget before it's approved, I would prefer to stick with our practice of noting it afterwards.
This was in relation to the Blue Egg, they have signed their lease, so I'm going to guess that we are going to get, I don't want that 10,000 not to be budgeted and then drop to the bottom line like we've been doing in this general reserve fund. I'd rather acknowledge that it's on its way. We also have another, is that what we're talking about, the liquor license, the reserve
Yeah, that's
liquor
the reserve license.
Yeah, I have no doubt that we'll be issuing that if we approve it. So it's not that we don't have a tenant in hand, that's
Oh, yeah,
signed.
that is, yeah, that's different. I've never-
It's still October though, you think they won't be pulling the license till 18? They won't pull it this year? I don't really know what their schedule is, I know they have some build out.
They said April, they changed.
Said April?
Mhm.
All right, so that would be a 2018, so, okay.
The other thing is, in the past, person coming in for the reserve license is also applied for the $10,000 grant to offset the 10,000.
Which is no longer.
I thought that was
It's illegal.
Again, staff's only concern about that is that, this level is not recurring,
Right,
and then in 19, it's 10,000, it's a structural
right,
issue.
that was the other
But
issue.
don't we do that, I'm sorry,
Yes, go ahead, Trustee.
don't we, just so I understand better, for the plant, like for all fees, if we know, I remember from my first year, if we are projecting, that's what a budget is, that we're gonna have more development because we know the metro market's gonna get underway, then we put in our budget more permit fees. And so that does kind of fluctuate based on our projection of known construction occurring, at least we did in the past budget. So this is something very similar, which is, it's a fee, and a budget is projection, and since we know they signed the lease, isn't it that, how is that different?
Well, staff has always tried to minimize that impact. We don't put in $40,000, $50,000 building permits, stuff like that for things that aren't recurring, that's not part of the budget. Again, I know that's, this is honest, where fund balance comes from, is not setting yourself up to budget for funds that aren't going to be coming. And we've had some significant non-recurring revenues in the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm sure throughout times prior to my arrival. And it's not so much the scale, it's just the practice that I want to make sure I advise the committee or the group how I feel about that.
Trustee
I
President.
would prefer not to put it in.
Yeah, I'd prefer to take staff's recommendation.
I think we know it with a reasonable certainty that we're going to receive the revenue, so I support including it in the budget.
I guess I would prefer not to put it in since it's a one-time revenue. Something could happen with the other non-reserve license, that place burns down or something.
Well, the renewal is $600 a year.
Right.
So even all things, that wouldn't be a problem, but budgeting 10,000 and next year dropping it down to 625, that creates a $9,300 gap
That's right.
going into
Yeah.
next year. From the very small level, that's what staff has to overcome. To me, the same objectives if we didn't.
So can I just ask a procedural question? For permits then, even if we know there's a big metro market coming, you know, we don't budget knowing we're gonna have a lot more revenue coming in from the permits that year? Do we just, I'm asking,
We try not to do
we
that.
don't? Okay.
There's some trade activity that you look at, but not the big numbers, no.
Fair.
Okay. All right.
Line 26 then, there's also supplemental, it was attached to this, talks about the assessing contract. Staff has evaluated an alternate proposal for the board if they wish to engage in that, of not doing a full market reval every year, but if they were to extend the current contract for 4 years, we would do a full market reval 1 year, and the other year would just be a maintenance effort. The annual cost, the assessors understand that the budget should be a steady annual cost, would be $46,750 as opposed to doing a full reval every year, which would be $70,500. Up for discussion.
Okay.
So we would be taking, so the 46 would be consistent whether it's a full market eval or re-eval or maintenance.
Yes. Yeah, the 4-year contract amount calls for an annual payment of $46,750.
And for that, we get 2 months. So what it results in is that some years, there's more fluctuation in the assessments, so there's more fluctuation in the amount of tax base that you're being taxed on, right, for your home.
Well, the assessed value is likely to fluctuate more if it's done reassessment every 2 years and every year. But, you know, in aggregate, that's just how that's divvied up.
But as far as the person receiving the bill, there's more of a fluctuation in what that bill is regardless of our tax rate.
Well, it depends on if their increase or decrease is higher or lower than the average. If you're at the average, you get the same piece of the pie. If you're above the average, you pay a little bit more than the prior year percentage-wise. If you're below the average, you pay a little bit less.
I see, and so those, where you're at, wouldn't change that much.
Hard
So
to
that-
say.
Right.
The issue here is you got 2 years
Right.
instead of 1, so instead of doing them every year, you're doing them every other. Perfectly appropriate, very legitimate policy choice. It saves some money. The only issue is you have to understand when you do 2-year assessment, particularly in hotter real estate markets like this, you're gonna have a little more sticker shock.
Right, that's what-
Because the homeowners are getting 2 years of one time.
President Johnson.
How many years have we been doing it on an annual basis?
3,
And prior to that, we didn't do it, we only did it on the state.
5 to 7
Yeah,
years.
it was based on if we got over 10% off, because state statute required us to make a evaluation if we were over 10% off.
That's correct.
And, you know, things worked, you know, when it was every 5 years. I think things would work just fine at 2 years. I would not be that concerned about, you know, the every other year. I think it's worth the 25,000 bucks or whatever it
It's
is.
30-some.
What's the difference between 70 and 46, right?
23.
Yeah, 25.
Sorry.
Yeah, just less than 25 in savings.
Yeah, which is a fairly substantial, just. I would go every other year.
As long as we do a really, make a great effort at education,
Now, with the
communication.
groups, as long as I got everybody here, do you want to start that with a non-reval next year? Or do you want to do reval next year and then non-reval?
Let's do a non-rebel next year.
I agree.
We'll draw it up either way, but we'll look to execute that.
Last year.
for doing it
Yeah,
as far as
Yeah.
contracts with the
Oh, yeah.
assessor?
yeah, I've been in communication with them, and they want to know if they're
They wanna know which
going
way
to
to
get an
go.
extension, so. Line 27, again, there's some supplementary materials that I recycled from last year's discussion on this topic. For your discussion, and
Trustee Rosa?
This is something that I asked to be put on the list. Last year at this time, I proposed the same thing. This year, again, the proposal for me is to make one of our code compliance officers a half-time position. And if that's not feasible, then eliminating one. The rationale last year that I gave, which I'll just repeat for remembrance, was code compliance has gone away. We did get a report from our planning director